Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and all the tactics they use. Now, have you ever had the experience where a narcissistic person says, "I don't care what you or anyone else thinks of me"? Let's break down the reality of that. It's not an unusual thing for them to say. They say, "I don't care. I don't care what you, I don't care what anyone else thinks of me." When they say that, guess what, folks? They are lying. So I was reading the news recently, as I do, and there was one famous person that made an insinuation that another famous person was pissed off because what they said was untrue, and it would put the person who was being accused, if you will, in a very unsavory light. The person who is accused of doing this thing pushed back on the accuser, and ultimately, the person who made the insinuation said that the accused person misunderstood him. I'm not sure that I agree with that because I read both sides, because the guy did make the insinuation. There isn't that much to misunderstand. So that pushback, when the narcissistic person makes an accusation or something, and they encounter someone who pushes back on their false accusation or their twisting of the truth, and then there's the potential for legal pushback or real consequences. So then when the narcissistic person's feet are held to the fire, instead of taking responsibility, being accountable, apologizing, saying I was irresponsible, they say things like, "I was misunderstood." I'm actually going to get to 2 points in this video, because even as I'm thinking about this, that's half the battle with narcissistic people, right? They always think when people don't buy their weird rhetoric that they're misunderstood, that they're so special and nobody except maybe other special and enlightened people can understand them, or that anyone who doesn't just give in to them and let them be a bully is a problem who doesn't understand them, right? But ultimately, all narcissistic people feel chronically misunderstood. It's actually part of the overall victim complex of the narcissistic personality. But, and here's where I always get a little chuckle when I read about narcissistic people in the news or I see them at work. It's when they do say, "I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm just going to speak my truth." That's actually the ultimate narcissist fantasy, if that could be true, that they could actually live a life where they genuinely don't care. It's interesting because this isn't a gaslighting maneuver or entitlement or even manipulation. It's almost like a wish. It's a wish that they genuinely wouldn't care about what other people think. You're listening here right now and you're saying, "Slow down, Dr. Ramani. Come on. Obviously, they don't care. They don't care about me. They don't give a rat's ass about anybody. So isn't that true that they don't care?" Yes and no. The lack of empathy in narcissism means that they really don't care about you. That's absolutely true. However, their desperate need for admiration and validation means that they care deeply about what you or anybody else thinks of them. There's a difference. They don't care about you. They care about what people think of them. Now, narcissistic people, more than just about any other personality group, are the ones who say outlandish, offensive things, and especially with the way the media, the internet, and social media work now. The person who says the most outlandish, offensive, at times horrifying things gets the most attention, good or bad, and then they become the focus of the world. And when those words, because people keep saying more and more insane things, when those words finally get them into trouble, and people don't like them anymore, they take the sort of Teflon stance of, "I don't care what anyone thinks of me." It becomes a stand-in when they say that for real emotion, for vulnerability, for accountability, and for taking responsibility. With that one statement, "I don't care what anyone thinks," they don't have to deal with any of the stuff that makes a narcissistic person uncomfortable, like vulnerability. They just say, "I just don't care what anyone thinks of me." And here's where it gets even more tricky. At some level, we kind of admire people who genuinely don't care what other people think of them. We view them as free thinkers who aren't held back by fear and neurotic concerns, people who do and say what they want. Certainly, as part of healing from narcissistic abuse and freeing yourself from enablers, I've even said not caring as much about what people say about you not forgiving the narcissist, for example, or not caring about what the narcissistic person thinks of you. When you choose things that matter to you, we want that. So when the narcissistic person goes around and says whatever hateful, hurtful, or untrue things they're saying, and then they turn around and say, I don't care what anyone thinks, it's confusing. Not caring, genuinely not caring about what other people think of you is very difficult. We are wired to care what other people think. We're a social species. And that's why even when we radically accept and are clear on someone else's toxicity or narcissism, we can still be deeply hurt by them. We may not even fully care about them. But when someone is thinking about us in a cold and awful way or in an inaccurate way, even if we know that they're narcissistic, it bothers us. And it's the same for narcissistic people. And it's also a little more because not only do they care because they're human beings, they actually care more because it evokes tremendous shame in a narcissistic person to be viewed badly, especially in a public forum or in front of other people or at work. So they double down and strongly proclaim, I am loud and I am proud and I don't care what other people think and I'm an independent thinker. It can also be frustrating if you are interacting with them because you may think, ugh, they are untouchable. They just don't give a damn. They actually do give a damn. They definitely give a damn. But we forget that when you insult the narcissistic person or go to battle with them, they actually love that fight. The fight brings out almost what they consider the best in them, the chance to be overpowering or dominant. But if you let them know, everyone thinks that you're a liar and a hack, and then you do not interact with them again, you cut off the narcissistic supply. It's important you don't share with them how you feel about them and that you just disengage. That's the way to do it, because now they know you think they suck and you don't give them the supply of a fight or your tears or an explanation. You take your contempt for them and you don't let them have the gratification of talking more. Let them say, I don't care what you or anyone else thinks. Trust me when I tell you they do. They really, really do. There's really only one group of folks that truly do not care what other people think of them, and that is the psychopaths. They really don't care, which is why they are like machines. No feeling, deeply efficient, very calculating. They are basically perpetration and predation machines. And they are very rare. I mean, there's some malignant narcissistic folks out there who are sort of wannabe psychopaths, but they still have the anxiety and the fear. The psychopathic people are the only group that actually do not care what anybody thinks of them. But when you get a narcissistic person cornered, for example, they face a public humiliation, or they're being called out in front of other people, or there's a workplace call out, or in front of a friend group, or in front of a family group, it's not unusual for them to engage in that dysfunctional two-step of first saying, oh, it was all a misunderstanding, with the follow-up of, and I don't really care what you think. It allows them to preserve themselves, buttress their shame, appear strong and powerful, almost like a bird puffing out its feathers so it can look bigger. And it allows them to have a suit of armor around their vulnerability. So when you hear this, now you know what you're hearing. And trust me when I say they really, really do care. But they also don't change. So even though narcissistic people do care, they will keep behaving badly. And just as a reminder, I did always want to let you know my new book's coming out. We're coming real close to it being out. So please take a look, order it. I hope you like it. It takes a lot of what I share on this channel and puts it in one handy dandy place. It's available for pre-order now. Click the link in the video description. Thanks again.